Zainab, who would let us know how climate change affects the people and what can be done, because there are several factors, and climate change also affects food security as well, amongst other things. Hello, Zainab.
Hi, Andy, and thank you for that brief introduction.
You're
Climate
welcome.
change does have a role to play, in food security and also in the things we are seeing happening, especially with people out on the streets, so yes. All right, then, thank you for staying with us, on the Climate Chat segment of the Weekend Show. My name is Zainab Adetola, and this is such an important conversation to have because Nigeria is currently dealing with several challenges. Just to name it, we have, food insecurity, we have health challenges, we have conflicts in certain regions of the country. We also have educational challenges. And it may seem as though, all of these things just came out of nowhere and is just rooted in the fact that those in government do not care about the people. But it would interest you to know that there is a role that climate change has played in this, helping these challenges to manifest, and the fact that people are currently out on the street protesting can be traced back to some of the changes we have seen in our environment. We are also at a place where there is a push for a more sustainable society. How do we move what we currently have to a society where people are more at ease, the communities are more involved in the civic process, and they are seeing the benefits and, also feeling the impact of good governance? This is the conversation we'll be having on Climate Chat this morning. And I also want you to know that, when we talk about conflict, terrorism, banditry, kidnappings, the crumbling economy, we can't trace it right back to the fact that there is scarce resources, and the resources continue to get smaller and smaller. Why is this the case? Again, it's back to the fact that climate is changing, and we are having to manage the resources that we have, and we have the farmers and the herders fighting. We have less output of food. We have, businesses crumbling as a result, and a lot more of all of those things that we are dealing with. So that's why we'll be having this conversation on Climate Chat this morning. And I have with me in the studio someone who is not just a climate literacy expert, but she is also the team lead for a climate-driven organization talking about Green with Green. She's the team lead for Green with Green, and I'm talking about none other than Sharon Chia-Heerman. Good morning, and thank you for being my guest on the show this morning.
Thank you for the invitation. Yes,
Yeah.
good morning.
All right, you quite heard my introduction, right? And I would just like you to jump right in and tell us about what you have seen, your experience with trying to help people understand the challenges of climate change. And basically, I know that you also go on the field a lot, you interact with communities. We've also seen elderly people, farmers, parents, business owners come out to say that the bad governance is affecting them. But, how can we trace all of this? How can we tie it back to the fact that the climate is changing, and maybe, perhaps, what if we had more effective climate policies? So just help us, tie all of it together to start this conversation.
First, I want to start off by saying that one of the biggest challenges I've faced in the sector is that a lot of people are in climate change denial, especially in this part of the world. When I started, people say, oh, climate change is an Oyibo thing. It doesn't affect us here. And I think that's because we have the wrong perception of what climate change is. So people will argue and say, oh, but we've always had flooding, we've always had drought. Now, when it comes to climate change increases the intensity and the duration of some of these climate changes. So yes, there's always been flood, but has flooding lasted for 7 months in some places? Yes, there's always been drought, but has it ever been this bad? So climate change literally increases the effect, the intensity, and the duration of some of these effects. Now, I love the fact that climate is being thrown into the mix for what we're going through in Nigeria. Like you said at the beginning, Nigeria is facing a lot of problems. Like, our problems are multidimensional. It's not just, you can't just look at one. The education sector, the health sector, the environment, bad governance, policies, everything is intertwined. And I see a lot of times that climate change is actually a multifaceted and intersectional problem. It is woven into every other problem that you can think of, either as a cause or as a solution. And for this current situation we're having right now with the End Bad Governance protest, you can look at the contribution of climate change in different angles. Now, one of the things I want to mention is climate change may not be the direct cause of some of the problems, but it it escalates some of the problems that already exist. So for instance, both Andy and you mentioned the agriculture sector, which is like the major area where we're getting affected when it comes to climate change in Nigeria. And let's look at it. One of the major causes of the protests we're having right now is hunger. A lot of people are hungry. And it's really funny to me that a country like Nigeria, that is a food-producing, very fertile country, is having food crisis. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Now you look at it is because, let's start from the fact that flooding in one part of the country, the southern part of the country, flooding is destroying people's farmlands, people's livelihoods, people's houses and all of that. Then in the northern part of the country, we have drought. That is, drought, gully erosion, all of those things, taking away people's farmland. It's not just destroying the quantity of food we're able to produce, it's also affecting the quality. So soil health is also depleting every single year because of climate change. And as the soil health is decreasing, it also means that the quality of food is also reducing. So that's one of the major reasons why there is a lot of hunger and food insecurity in the country.
All right, so let's come back to those who are on the protest ground. There's currently protest from Abuja to Lagos to Ibadan, just name it, everywhere in the country right now. And people are out on the streets in their T-shirts, with water, with other things they need to keep the protest going. What would you say to people in places? What can they do to ensure that they do not further aggravate the climate challenges that we are already facing? What can they do as they are on protest grounds right now?
Okay, the first thing I want to say is that there's a relationship between sustainability and the protest, right? Sustainability is making sure we're able to cater for ourselves from nature's resources without affecting the ability of the future generation to meet their needs. So while we are fighting for a better today for ourselves, let's make sure that in the process, we're not destroying the resources, we're not destroying the structures that are supposed to help the future generation. And to always remember that whatever it is that we do, whether you're fighting for education, health, security, policies, or whatever, the environment is the canvas upon which all of these dreams are actually going to be stamped upon. So thank you.
All right, then there you have it. A very quick chat. And thank you so much, Sharon Chia-Herman, for having this conversation with us this morning. And that's how much we can take on today's episode of Climate Chat. It's been a very quick conversation as we begin to dwell even more on the End Bad Governance protest and what we need to do to, to take this forward.